So let's get into writing some code. That's what we're here to do. I was saying earlier, I want to add this feature where I can edit and add data into this archives feature. So let's stop debugging and let's think about what we're going to do for this. We have a database table. In the backend project, we have an orchestrator. Let's take a look and start there. And let's see, minimize some stuff here. So I have this get history. That's what pulls the data, and it doesn't do, and this orchestrator doesn't do anything else. So I think what I want to do is come up with a new method called public. I'll update this as I go. Obviously, it's not going to be void. Public add episode. I have this something going on where I don't know if I name these things great in the first place. Here I called it a history, but in the database they're called episodes. And I think they're episodes, so I think I'm probably going to switch it and start referring to them as episodes. It seems like it makes more sense to me. I'm back. Hey, Rich Ross. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it. Great to know that this is working. Great to know that people can hear me. I always say that if no one's listening, then I'm just like a babbling, maniac, right? I was joking around the other day. I put this on Twitter the other day. I was starting to write some code, and I wasn't streaming, and I started talking to myself out loud. I started saying, okay, so I think I'll add a method called add episode. Like I was just talking, and I thought, wow, now I've really gone crazy. Yeah, thanks, Bruno. Right, so there's a difference between a live streamer and a ranting crazy person, and hopefully I'm a live streamer. So anyway, let's add this episode. So in order to do that, I need to have some kind of DTO. And I think it was this show history DTO. Let's create something called, and I like to be sort of single responsibility with these things. Not sort of, I guess it is single responsibility. I'm going to call it add episode. I'm going to switch away from this history name. Add episode DTO. .cs. And it doesn't have any properties, and that's just fine. So I'm going to add an episode, and I'll call it episode. Okay, and so first thing I'm going to do, I'll put some comments in here. This is the way I tend to write my code. I'll put some comments in here. First, I want to validate it, and then I'm going to convert it. Then I'm going to add it. Then I'm going to commit it. I think that is essentially what I'm going to do. So let's figure out what this thing can do. So when I add an episode, I guess I have to have some properties on that thing. So I'll have string title, prop, string description, prop, and I don't know if you guys do this, I do prop and I hit tab twice and it just fills in the little, I don't know, there's a snippet, I guess that's what that is. I don't know if other people do that. I always wonder. I think what I'm going to have is probably like a collection of tags, but I'll probably just make them comma separated values for now. How about a date? Date time, air date, or live, original air date, I guess. I don't know. Who knows what to call these things? And I certainly need the URL, so I'll put, and I'll call it archive URL. That's probably enough stuff for now, and I'll keep adding to that. I think that's going to make sense. So then I think what I'll do, and I've talked about this before, is that I organize things into folders. And so I've got this folder of mini, and there's different stuff in here, and I'm going to go to validators, and I'm going to go to I'm going to create a new validator. I'm going to call this the add episode DTO validator. And this thing's job is going to be to validate that one thing. Okay, and so I'll say public. I think I was just using strings in these messages for now. Let's take a look at what I did in my other validator. I can't remember if I was using, I have a message object that I sometimes use, and I don't know if this project has gotten that far yet. No, I'm just using strings, and that's fine for now. What I'm planning to do with this, if you're new to joining me here, is what I'm planning to do to this is build this application to be somewhat realistic application. The way I would do this at work, right? If this wasn't just for the stream. And I want to make it as real as possible, but I'm also making it as real as possible starting with nothing. And so I'm trying to not add in a lot of these base classes that I would use and start to see what I would need as I build the application and add in sort of base classes. And so like eventually I think I would probably have some kind of class called a message here that might have message type of error or warning or things like that. I don't know. Let's see what I need. But in this case, I'm going to return list of strings and I'm going to call it validate. Validate. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying there. I'll add in my add episode DTO. Oops. And I'll say call it the DTO. That's fine. And this isn't working yet. Let's see. Oh, come on. Can't catch the thing there. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to validate this DTO, and I'll just throw some rules in here, like if DTO dot title is, I know I have a helper on here, don't I? Maybe I don't. I thought, so this is what I talk about. I usually have all these classes that I add in, and I haven't added any of these things yet. I have little helpers like string helpers that help me do this, but that's okay. Let's do string is null or white space, and I'll say DTO dot title, and let's say oh, I forgot it. Let's see. Oh, I need to create a message. Let's say, I'm not going to put a lot of rules in here because I want to get this thing working. I'll come back and make the rules stronger later. I'll just say results equals new list of string. And we'll have this one simple rule that says results dot add title is required. That's all I'm going to do for now with this. Return results. Okay, and I will, gotta remember which tools I'm using here. Extract interface, keep it in the same file. What do you guys do? I keep my interfaces, when they're simple interfaces like this, I keep them in the same file. And I know that's, I don't know if I'd call that controversial, but some people do that, some people don't. Curious to know what you think. If you're out there in chat, feel free to let me know. Anyway, I'm going to go back to my orchestrator and let's add in my, see, I was thinking about, well, we'll see. Private read-only. Yep, that goes there. And then, can I? No, okay. I always forget which tools I'm using and which helpful things I have here. You know, I probably should wrap this down. Then we can see how much trouble we're getting into, because it's getting to be a bunch of different dependencies injected in here. I like to keep track of that and not have too many. To me, that can be a sign of getting, you know, I blur the line a little bit here on single responsibility on this orchestrator. You could certainly have something called like a get history orchestrator and an add history orchestrator. I tend to group them together, but it's a little bit of a blurring of single responsibility, but let's just go for that for now. And that is going to return and whoops, dot validate, and it's going to take the episode. Okay. And so that's going to give me whether that's good or not. So obviously having void here is not a good idea. What I really want to do is return something that looks similar to this get episode history result. And what that does, this get episode history result has three properties. It has the result, the data that I want to get back, or the data that I want to deal with, and the messages, the strings, and maybe the value of success, whether this thing worked properly or not. I don't want to have to create this thing over and over again. And I started like this. This is what I was talking about earlier. I started like this because I only needed one of them. But now that I need a second thing like this, what I think is it's really time to add some additional classes. Now I'm going to create a folder in here. I'm going to add a folder and I'm going to call it results. I have results. What? Oh, I have results. What's that name? Oh, excellent. Look how good I am. I already had a folder called results. Let's get rid of that new folder. And in results, I'm going to create a generic result. And let's have a little fun with C# generics. So I'll call this, I'll just call it result.cs. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to have a, where'd my other result go? Let's just bring that one back out here. I think I can pin this out here for now. I want to have something that looks like this, right? But I want it to be generic. So I'm just going to copy it into here for now. Obviously this is going to be the result. Let's just fix that. So success is fine and messages are fine. The thing that really will be a problem is going to be this result, or this list of results. So let's do this. Let's get rid of that altogether. Okay, because not every result maybe returns data. All right, this is the way I do this in some other projects. Not every result returns data. Now then I'm going to do is I'm going to add public class result how about I call this the select result, which is actually what I call it in my regular stuff at work. And let's do this and say I extend result, but now I want to have that property. Where was it? I'll just grab it from here just so we see. I want to be able to return the data, right? So let's do this, and let's say if I want to get data, I have a select result. But what do I want to return? I want to return a T. Okay. And so I can say that T is my select result. And now whatever goes into here, when I create this thing, it will have a results of a list of whatever I want. Now, in my case, what I'm doing in this new one is I'm not selecting data. I'm really just going to be, in this thing, I'm adding a new episode history into this thing, add an episode. And I don't like to use something called select result, because to me that just makes less sense. It just doesn't read as right. So I will call this a persist result, And in this case, I think I'm just going to return a T, one single item that I'm persisting. And I'm going to call it entity because usually, well, how about item? The item that I persisted. Let's do that, okay? And so now what I can do is I'm going to come back to my orchestrator, and instead of returning void, I'm going to return a persist result, and I think I'm going to put the episode back up into that thing. And let's just go with that for now. Not sure if that's going to stay that way. And I'm going to say result equals new result. And then just to make everything happy, I'm going to return it down here, even though there's nothing in it yet. Return result. Okay, So I got that. So now I'm going to validate this thing. And I'll say var messages equals the result of my validation. What I want to do now is, if there's messages, if validation failed, I want to return. So I'm going to say if messages, there's a couple ways I could do this, but let's try this. If there's any messages, then result dot messages add range messages. I can do that. I'll just dump them into it, right? I'll say result dot success equals false, and I'll return result. So at that point, we're done. If there's any validation problems, I'm going to take that data, take those messages, and return them out into the into there. I think that's gonna work because this persist result has a messages property, right? If I only return this add episode result or some data or an ID, sometimes you return the ID of the item you created or you return a bool. Well, it's kind of hard to deal with messages there. So that's the way I'm going to do that for now, and let's see how that continues to play out. Let's put that back to the way I needed it. Okay. So I got that. So the next thing I'm going to do, and this shouldn't really take me too long. It's 12:25 my time. I'm about 25 minutes into the show, and I try to keep these shows to an hour. So I think I'm hoping I can get this feature done. Hey, if you're watching now, I do want to remind you to do a couple things for me. If you like what you're watching and you're on YouTube, do me a favor and subscribe on my YouTube channel. I appreciate it. And you can like this video if you want. If you're on Mixer or Twitch, feel free to follow me. I would really appreciate it if you came back again next week. And also want to mention that tonight is the Dev Talk Show. If it's Wednesday, you got Shwami streams at noon Eastern Time. You got the Dev Talk Show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the Dev Talk Show, fun show with Rich Ross, Chris Gomez, and myself. Tonight, we're going to be talking about feature management in Azure. And it's something I've never used before, so I'm kind of excited. It's sort of a way to manage, I'm probably going to mess this up because I don't really know what it is, and we're going to learn about it tonight on the show. But basically managing like feature toggles and things like that in your applications with Azure. So we'll be looking at feature management, and that should be a fun show, the Dev Talk Show. You can get the Dev Talk Show tonight on mixer.com/the Dev Talk Show, twitch.tv, the Dev Talk Show. And YouTube, it's best to just hit video.thedevtalkshow.com. And if you want any other information about the Dev Talk Show, check out thedevtalkshow.com. And I'll put that in here too. Why not? Let's put that in the devtalkshow.com. There you go. So, we're back. That was my little commercial break. And see how things are going here. Just going to check on some status things over here. Let's see. Sorry for a sec. And see what's going on. All right. So next thing I want to do is convert this thing. So I have in Mini here, I have a converter that is an episode history converter, which turns a show history DTO into an episode. No, takes an episode and turns it into this result that we use to get back. I'm going to add a method to this one. I'll probably rename this thing because it may be backwards. It should probably just be called the episode converter. Public episode, and I'll say to domain. This is just a style I like to use. I say to domain because it's the domain object I'm going to save. I'm going to say it's the add episode DTO. Okay, and let's just convert this thing over in here. So I'm going to create a new episode. I could use the initializers, but I don't think I will here. I think I'm just going to say episode dot. So I don't have an ID. Let's say a title equals DTO dot title and episode dot details. See that? I didn't call it the same thing. Equals DTO dot. I think I called it description here, but I guess that's okay. That might confuse me later when I'm doing future development. I think I have tags on here. So that's really all I support in the database. So we'll come back to the other things later. Okay, but in the meantime, let's return episode. Okay, and let's just add this to my interface. Not perfect, and a little sloppy, but I think I'll clean it up as I go. So now that I can convert it, I can say var entity, I'll call it that, entity equals Ross squared. Hello, hello, greetings to you as well. You're there on YouTube. Great, thanks for joining us today. I'm writing some code and we're working on adding a new feature to the website, which is the ability to add episodes, and it's for like a catalog of past episodes. So anyway, what am I doing here? So I've got this converter. So I'm going to say to domain, and I'm going to take that thing we started with, which was called episode. Okay, and I've converted it, and now I need to add it to the database, essentially, right? So I'm using a repository pattern. I've got a repository here. When I did the, I also have this data service that sits in the middle. So go to the data service, and I have this get episodes. I'm going to add something similar for adding episodes. So let's go to public. What's this one going to return? I guess it's going to return the episode. I don't know if it needs to return anything, quite frankly. Add episode. Or how about I call it update. Insert or update. Does it matter if I'm doing an insert or an update? Because my repository doesn't care. I'm going to call it, well, let's just call it add for now. Add episode. You know, naming is like the hardest part, right? It's a struggle to name things. It's kind of worth it to stop sometimes and spend a little time on getting names right for certain things. Some names I don't have to worry about too much because some things are easier to change. You know, I think it's a quote by like Jeff Bezos or something, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but well, I'm not even going to quote it. I'll just talk about the concept. What he talked about was not worrying about decisions that are easy to change and spend time worrying about, later, good luck, Contrived X, with your unexpected meeting, hope it's not a production problem or something like that, but good luck. I hope to see you soon. So Bezos says, you know, big decisions are really worth putting a lot of thought into and thinking through things. With an application, I would think about the overall design and the architecture and the system is really important. Naming conventions are important to get right and to follow certain standards. But whether I name this thing add episode or update episode, that one's pretty easy for me to change. And so it's really not worth putting too much time into thinking about it because I can always right click and rename it. And I try to use that philosophy for a lot of things. Anyway, let's add my episode. This thing's going to take an episode, and that's kind of what it's going to do. And I'm going to say episode repository dot, and you notice my episode repository doesn't have a way to add the episode. That's because I'm building this thing incrementally as I go, and I hadn't needed that yet. Now, my repository is another interesting thing. As I said earlier, I would normally work with some kind of generic repository. A repository is a really good thing when you're using Entity Framework. It's really good to make generic repositories. It's just super simple. But I'm kind of trying to treat this as like I'm building this application from the ground up, and I don't necessarily know that I need a repository for more than one thing, and I don't. So there's really not much sense in making it generic yet, and then I'll refactor and put it in later. What I do need to do is have a public, well, let's just leave it void for now. I'm going to call it, I don't know, void add for now. I don't know what I'm going to call it. So I'll say Shwami streams DB context episodes dot add. Yeah, I'm going to add this episode and because I don't have an episode, of course, right? Episode. Okay, and I think that might actually work to call it. And you know what? I do have to call it add until I add some other logic. So I'm going to go back to add, and I'm going to go back to, where was I in the data source? I called it add. Great. So I need to also add this void. And this doesn't need to be asynchronous because adding isn't an asynchronous method, because adding doesn't really do anything. It just sort of tells the context to be aware of it. So I don't need to worry about that yet. But, oh, sorry, I was going to add it to my interface here. And so now and I'm just going to sort of cascade that up. So now I can say .add, and I'll pass my episode into here, episode. Okay. And this thing returns an episode. Maybe that can just be void for now. I don't know if there's any reason to make that anything other than void. So let's just go with that for now. Again, can change these things as we go. Okay. So now if I come up to, you know what, let's just do a build and see, did I leave anything broken yet? Ah, there it is. Okay, well, that's because I was goofing around in here and probably didn't. Yeah, that's true. So I broke my tests. I broke my tests because I added a new dependency. My tests, I have tests on the episode history orchestrator. And so for now, I think, let's just see. And that's sort of that's always a pain. I gotta say, that is always a pain when you add dependencies. And maybe that's a good example of saying responsibility principle. And where I am bending the rules with that is if you add more dependencies, you're changing it, and I mean, it really just gets kind of messy. But I'm gonna leave it like this for now. So what do I call it? The episode. No, it was the validator, right? The add episode DTO validator. Okay, good. I got that right. And let's go over here, and I'll fix I have to fix tests as well, but let's just call this the add episode history validator, and then let's just come down here. I just want to satisfy my tests and come back to this later. I just want to satisfy my compilation here. Episode object. That should work. And that's why it's a good idea to compile every now and then. Oh, I guess I have this in... Oh, I didn't do it. So I have it this way. You know what? I think I changed these tests as I was going. I'm looking down here. See, what I was demonstrating, I remember this from a few episodes ago. I was putting the mocks in here. This is for unit testing, if you guys haven't, hopefully familiar with unit testing, but I've got these mocks in here, and I'm doing tests on the episode history orchestrator. And I was adding these things all manually, and then I demonstrated that I don't need to add these all manually because I can do it all once in the constructor and get some reuse out of that. But I didn't go back and change them. And so this is a perfect example of why you want to have not code copied like all over the place. So what I can do is I can actually get rid of this, right? I don't need that. And all I need to do is put these underscores on these to show that these are class level variables now. And I can refactor that easily, I hope. I could probably do a find and replace with this. I don't know what that test is. Let's get rid of these. So this is the joy of, you know, changing your code as it goes. And if I had done it like that from the beginning, it would have made things easier. But I was trying to demonstrate simple unit tests and not get too caught up in there. Okay, great. That's good. Build succeeded. Awesome. Let's get back to what we're trying to do. The important stuff. Oh, what was I trying to do? Let's close some things. Let's close that. Let's close this. And I think I was in the orchestrator. Oh, I know. I was looking at this, really, and I got my entity, so I added it to domain. And now I need to, oh, sorry, I converted it. Now I need to add it to the domain, to my data service. So I don't remember if I did add episode, and I'm going to add the entity. This is the entity that I converted right here. Okay, so this is where single responsibility comes in, and this is where the orchestration pattern comes in. This class's job, or this method's job, is to orchestrate a bunch of small classes that do other things for me. So here I'm calling my converter, and here I'm adding the episode. Now, if I just did this and ran this, well, it might run, it compiles, so it probably won't cause any trouble. But it's not going to work, and the reason it's not going to work is because I have to call save changes on my data context, on my DB context. Now, again, I was building this thing in stages, and I don't know if I did this in a way that's going to make it easy for me. Let's take a quick look here. So I have this model folder, and here's my DB context. My DB context has, this is going to cause a bit of trouble for me. This is going to cause a bit of trouble for me. What I like to do is use the unit of work pattern. What I like to do is right here say something like unit of work dot save changes. Okay. Now that would really be the same as me doing something like Swami streams DB context. Well, I'd have to have an instance of it, right? But let's see if I was to do it like this. I'm getting myself in a little bit of trouble here, but let's say I called it C. There's new. Well, actually, I wouldn't do that. I would probably get it out of the. I would inject it in. Okay, but the point is, it's the same as doing something like this: DB context dot save all. I think it's called, or something like that, or save changes, or save all async and stuff like that. The problem with doing this, in my professional opinion, and again, love to hear what people think about that, is as soon as I put the DB context in here, and this isn't really the DB context, but as soon as I did put this in here, what would happen is I could go right into all these other things that I don't want to do. I could go in here right to the episodes table, and I could do add. I could do all kinds of stuff that I really want to keep out of my orchestrator. Now, I could say, oh, Andy, you're being a good boy when you're writing code, and you're not going to use this thing for bad. You're only going to use it for good. And so I could put that in here. And I may actually do that today because I want to get this feature to work. But ideally, what I like to do is have a unit of work. And the unit of work has access to the DB context. You know what? I think Thinking if I could do that kind of easily. Let me see something real quick. Maybe this won't be as bad as I think it would be. Oh, isn't that always a great... Maybe it's not as bad as I think it would be. How did I get... Yeah, see, I did it like this. So what if I went into data? And this is, again, I don't think this is going to be the final design because this is probably not what I would do. This is not the way I do things normally, but I'm going to try to add... Let's try to do this real quick. Unit of work.cs. Okay, and if I look at this repository, I'm going to actually sort of copy some of this. This is sort of what I want this thing to look like, even though it's not what I want it to be in the long run. Let's see. Now, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to say public void save all async. And I can say show my streams DB context. Ooh. What the heck? Show my streams DB context is a DB context, but I Swami streams DB context. So it's going to blur the lines a little bit, but I need to put, what does it look like? It's going to look like, I'm just going to type in here, this dot save changes async, and it takes a cancellation token. So I can probably just put it up here in the interface, right? What was it? Well, let's see. Chand Yu, can you please go through my code that I have worked on as a task from a company that may hire me? Just share your opinion. This is Node CLI. Not right now. I can't. Maybe I could take a look at this later. I hope they hire you, Chand Yu. 2 minutes. Yeah, right in the middle of this now. So I can go back and let's see if we have time at the end of the show. You know, take a look. Yeah, I'm not an expert on Node at all, so I'm probably the wrong person to take a look at that anyway. Although, you know, don't mind you asking, but I'm not sure that I would be the one to help with anything that's Node anyway. So, sorry. I don't know if I'm the right person to help. Anyone in chat? Let's see. Let me just take a look at something real quick here. Let's just take a look at something here. Oop. Yeah, I can see your repo, but not being a node, it's kind of classic CLI. It does nothing much. Saduki, hey Saduki, how are you? Thanks for joining me today. Nice of you to stop by. Just got in. What are you looking for? Yeah, so I'm working on writing some code, and Chandu16 is looking for help on this repo. Wants to know if anybody can look at it. And hey, Richard Wysocki is there too. How you doing? Says send it on Twitter. Maybe someone there knows. I appreciate that. That's actually a good suggestion. Not being a Node person, I'm probably the wrong person for the job. Okay, so let me get back to what I was doing. What was I doing? I was going to add this. Oh, right. I wanted to get this save changes thing So I was saying like this. I don't like this. Don't worry. I don't like the this keyword, but I'm just putting it in here. Save changes async and takes the cancellation token and let me see the easiest way to do this, because I think if I put this on the interface, it might just work. Or I could have a method on here. What was I doing before? Isn't that what I did before? Lost my train of thought a little bit here. Save. Yeah, this will be the way I'll do it. And so I should put the token into there, or yeah, let's do that. Cancellation token. No, I'm doing this wrong. Sorry. Brain's not working. Sorry. Let's do it like that. Hello. And pass the token in there. And that is my little save all async. Let's make it public async task. And I don't like this keyword. Sometimes I just put it in there to help. So let's call it await. Save changes async. I need some references in here, no problem with that. And let's just stick this up here in the interface. And I think if I do that, then my unit of work can also call that thing. And again, this is, I don't know if I even like the way I'm doing this, to be honest with you guys. But can I just do this? Oh, I didn't make it nullable. That's what I didn't do. Or something like that. What am I thinking to do here? Brain is fried all of a sudden, and I'm like not thinking of what I want to do. That would work, right? Now I can just do this, I think, right? For now, can't I? I didn't put it up in the, oh, where am I? Let's see. I got too many things open. I don't like when I have lots of things open. That? God, I don't know. My brain. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. So, no, it's not liking that. Because this isn't the way to do it. How do I say in the interface that I want to make it nullable? Why am I forgetting? Who out there can help my brain? That can't be right. That's no good. Chandu is still talking about his CLI. Don't know what's going on with that. Well, I'll just pass in a cancellation token in here anyway. That'll make it easier. I'll just say cancellation token. Sorry, let's add this in here. Cancellation token. Come on. Okay. Oh my gosh. So now the unit of work is capable of saving all async, and I'm gonna. I really should have done this totally different from the beginning, I think. I'm not really sure. Like I said, in my usual libraries and usual work, I have these sort of base classes that I do all this stuff with. But the idea here, and I haven't built those into this project yet because I wanted to go from the ground up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to inject in, I'm going to get myself in trouble with my unit tests again. Let's do private read-only, and here's my unit of work. And the idea here is that I can use this unit of work separate from the other things. So it goes down here, and I'll change this to unit of work. And then here, I'll add unit of work equals unit of work. I like using ReSharper. When I use ReSharper, it just does all this for me. So I probably should install ReSharper on this machine because I like it. But in any case, now I should be able to say unit of work dot save all async. And of course, I need to await that. Await that. And if I await that, I need to make the method async. And I need to have a task. And so my signature gets a little longer, but task, persist result, save all async. There's no argument with the cancellation token. I don't know. What do I pass into that? New cancellation token. I'm going to fix that later. You know, it's really hard to do is to think while you're writing code. I'm discovering how hard it is to think like a real developer while I'm talking and typing and all of that stuff. And some of you guys are streamers as well out there, and so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Cannot await void. Shwami streams. Sudoku, do you change the name from add episode to add episodes async? You know what? Thoughts on including async and method names? Thank you. I do. I haven't gotten to renaming it yet because I just made it async, right? But I do like to go add episodes async. But I have sort of this mixed feeling about that, and I'm wondering if you're the same as me. We're getting to the point where like everything's async, and it just seems like it's getting wordy there, right? But I am still changing things to be add episode async. And so my unit of work, I was sloppy there. This should be, oh, this was called save all async. Yeah, I did that one. But I do continue to follow that pattern with the async. And I wonder how long we're going to keep doing that. Or at a certain point, do we just, I think at a certain point, it's going to switch to this, like, not async. Like you're going to need to tell people if it is an async or something funny like that. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know, Sudoku, what you think about that. So let's see. What am I doing here? This says, oh, what did I do with this thing? I like including, Sudoku says, I like including async in the name so that it is easy to tell from the method name that it's async. You're right. I agree that she's right. But she says, but you're right. The trend is towards async all the things. Right. So maybe at one point we're going to get rid of that. So this was void. Well, that was a mistake. Okay. That has to be a task. This is the joy of going fast on a stream. And this should be like, oh, wait here. Public async. I was going fast on these things and really not thinking them through because I wasn't planning on doing this part of the code today. I kind of forgot I didn't have this. So that should get us back up to here, I think. And so in theory, this thing is, oh, what is it not like the using prior? There we go, threads. Okay, so I think that this code would work if I could call it. Now, what I should do next is write unit tests. That is exactly what I should do, but that's not what I'm going to do because I'm just about out of time and I kind of want to find out what happens with this thing if it works. So I think what I'm going to do is, is put this method up in here, so I have it. And, you know, get history. I didn't make this one result either, and that's because, I'm sorry, I didn't make it result. I didn't make this asynchronous at all. This one's not even an async, or is it? Add. So this one's not even asynchronous, and it should be, but that was just proof of concept, and I was going to add the asynchronousness. The asynchronousness? Who likes that one? I'll add that later. So I think in order to test this, what I can do, and I want to just step into it and see what happens, is if I go to my controller, my home controller, just for kicks, right here, I'm going to just type in some code here. So I'm going to say episode history orchestrator dot add episode async, and I need to pass in an episode history. So let's just say, or add episode DTO. Oh, come on. Add episode DTO. DTO equals new. Add episode DTO. Let's pass this into here. Just going to wire this up as quick as possible just to see if it worked. This is going to be await. This is going to be async task action result. And now if I say DTO dot title equals first one. I think that's all I need to do because my validation only checks the title, I think. My lame little validation. Where's that? Let's just make sure that's what I did. So it only checks that the title is required, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen. But I am inclined to run this. Who's with me on just running this thing and see what happens? Because I'm certainly not going to ship this code without unit tests and things like that. I say go for it. And I guess, you know, this is a community, right? This is it's a community. It's a live stream where we talk and we help each other. Saduki says do it. It's a community, and I was going to ask for feedback. But on the other hand, it also, I get to do whatever I want, right? So I can just push the button. Now, if everybody screamed at me, I guess maybe I wouldn't push the button. I don't know. Oh, look at that. So it's telling me that it can't satisfy some of these things. And you know what? That's okay. Knew that was going to happen. I thought if it blows up, we find more cases that we could add tests for. Thank you, Saduki. Saduki, I'm going to miss seeing you soon with MVP Summit not being what it is, or not being happening. Sorry to say. Yeah, I didn't put the unit of work into this test thing. Remember, I did that before, and I never really... Now that I've been working from home, I'll be visiting streams more. Yeah, I'm trying to visit streams more too on the days I work from home. I'm trying to figure out how to do that, in all honesty. The days I work in the office, it's not really practical. And the days I'm at home, I'm trying to learn how to... So I'm trying to do this stream at East Coast lunchtime, hoping that people on the East Coast are maybe taking a break and watching the stream. I know other people outside of that time zone are either working and listening in the background, and I'm trying to figure out how to manage listening to streams in the background and getting stuff done. I've been listening to more and more streams because I like it when I'm working at home. I like that community aspect, and is this still going to fail? Let's see. Yeah, so it still says some... I thought that I didn't need to do that. And the reason I thought I didn't need to do that is because my startup... No. I thought I was using... Oh! I thought I was using... oh, what's that library? So I get so confused by things I do in different places. You know, my real work projects and these projects. Of course, I need to satisfy dependency injection. But what's that library that I'm using now? Oh, God. I I can't even think of the name of it, but it does all this stuff automatically for you, and I haven't wired it up into here, so I guess I'll have to do that soon. So let's add iUnit of work, and just say, because this I find such a pain in the neck to do this. Who finds this a pain in the neck aside from me? What else did I add? I added a validator. It was something like, that's it, add episode validator. If I could remember the name of the library I'm using, it's the replacement for structure map. And I can't think of what it's called right now. Let's see, is that all I added? You know what I can do? I can look at my changes and say I added the episode history converter. No, I changed the episode history converter. Sorry, let's see what's... Yeah, I just changed that. Okay, good. Add. Yeah, this is what I want to look at. Add episode validator. Add unit of work. Okay, this might work. This is a duplicate, right? No, that's it. Okay, let's try and run it again. So Dookie says, I listen to streams as the background on one monitor while doing data science curriculum building on the other screen. Data science curriculum, how cool is that? So most streams that I visit are friends, and none will overlap with what I'm working on. That's an interesting point, right? Like if, oh, okay, good, this is working now. Okay, sorry. So let me, let's step through this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to add it in here. And I probably screwed something up because I was going pretty fast, but let's validate it. And it already broke. What did I do there? What the heck? That's odd. I'm going to run through that again. I skipped right over this. I probably did something silly. Add episode async. Gosh, I don't even know what I did at this point. I probably, well, doesn't look like this is going to work today. Let's figure it out. I've got a couple more minutes before I get back to my day job. I try to keep this stream to about an hour. Oops. So that I'm not taking up too much of people's time. I'm struggling with that because I want to get more done on this project. And I guess I could stream more, but I'm trying to keep to a schedule. I don't know. Where was I? So I got into here. Add episode async. I thought, wait, where was that? I wasn't paying attention to my own bug. Okay, debug this one more time and see what happens, because I lost track of where I was. Talking, thinking, all this stuff at once. So I go into add episode async, and I'm in here, and then when I go to validate, it kicks me right back out. Why does it kick? Oh wait, maybe that's just the async. Oh, you know what I'm missing? I must have, when that happens, it usually means you screwed up some async code, doesn't it? So let's just take a look. When it kicks you right back out, it usually means, let's see, so this is async, and it calls this await async. And then I go to add episode async. And this is async with a task. And then I have this validator. I don't know. Oh, this must not be add episode DTO validator. It's not in here. Uh-oh. I was going fast. Swami was going too fast. Is it not in the... Oh, I'm just doing it all wrong. Okay, that goes there. That goes there. That's what the problem was. I might be able to make this work after all today. Who's with me? Come on. I don't know. We'll see. My drum roll is too fast. I need like a much longer drum roll. Hey, while I'm waiting for this, don't forget tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time is the Dev Talk show, where we're going to be talking about feature management, Azure feature management. which is something I'm not familiar with, and I'm really looking forward to learning a little bit about how that works for dealing like feature toggles and stuff like that. Okay, so we go into here, and of course now that time it worked fine. I should have no results. The messages should be empty. Now I'm going to go on and I'm going to convert this thing, and when I do, it converts it. I'm going to add it, and I'm going to let it save and return. That's a good sign. And now it will get the history. So if I see anything in my results that it worked, first one. Is that what I just did? Oh, look at that, it worked. Yay! Thank you. Thank you very much. It did work. And so, woo! Thank you, Sudoku. Appreciate the encouragement. It's nice to have some encouragement. So let's see. So where am I now? So I have this thing. So I think on next episode, well, I'll build this out. I'll write some tests. We'll make a little UI for this thing so I can actually, like, this is lame, right? Definitely won't be doing this. And play around with this feature to see how far, take that a little bit. And then after I get it where I can add the episode, I do need to add security. Now, I'm like breaking my own rules because I always say like do security first. But I didn't, because I didn't need security. I'm trying to balance this show between like doing all the things I think I need, later, and front loading all those things, or just starting to write some code. And so I haven't done the security. What I am going to be doing, and if you want to come back, maybe I'll get to it next week, will be adding Azure AD Authentication. And I've done this already with applications, which is pretty easy, and it almost mimics what I call like Windows authentication, where you're in your browser when you have your intranet app, and it knows who you are because you're on the intranet, and it just authenticates you. And you can kind of do that with Azure AD. I think I've done it, and I think that I'm making the right comparison. Sudoku says, if you do security first, you can easily run into locking yourself out of what you're developing. That's a good point. Security last isn't necessarily a bad thing. Thank you. Unless you're leaving services out in the public. And so the problem there is that I can check this code in, but I can't deploy it. I guess I could deploy it and people could goof around and I don't know what would happen. But let's see. In which case secure it is so that you're, in which case secure it so that you're hosting in Azure or something. You don't have people hitting your stuff and racking up your cloud fees. Exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit these changes, but there's something, I don't know why. I thought that my git ignore would ignore this app settings development.json file. Maybe it's named wrong. Maybe it's supposed to be, I don't know, but I thought it would automatically ignore that, and it doesn't seem to be doing that. So I always have to be careful to make sure I'm leaving that out, and maybe someone can show me how to fix that. But let's see. I'm going to put in this commit for adding episodes basically works, needs more validation and unit tests and a UI. And since my release pipeline isn't connected to my build pipeline, it will just commit those changes. I always like to leave with a commit, although I really do have some unit tests to do. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I want to say thank you for your time. Thanks for being here with me and having some fun. And Shwami streams, code, fun, and some chaos. And we had a little bit of chaos today, and that was good. I like chaos, keeping me on my toes. The stream wasn't working right on Twitch. Did a quick reboot of the stream, or not reboot, but whatever you call it. That got it working. So right there, I'm going to sign out. I hope to see you guys next week. Thanks for your time, and I will see you soon.